There you go. Political correspondent Candy Crowley is in Philadelphia, and Craig Crawford is the columnist for CQPolitics.com. He's in Orlando, Florida, where I think there might be an interesting campaign primary or election going on there pretty soon as well, and I understand the numbers are turning there as well. Let's start, though, with Arlen Specter.
Pretty good basketball, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Got some good basketball going on, too.
I'm telling you, Boston's good. But before we go there, let's talk about Arlen Specter. Candy, it's interesting. When I saw that ad, and I didn't see what somebody on my staff, Gary Dodders, brought to my attention, it's effective, the ad, but it's not true. He was saying, that's what people have told me. He wasn't saying that's what I think, right?
He wasn't, but I have to say that Senator Specter was pretty upfront when he made the announcement that he was, facing a serious challenge in his own party. That was not what he gave as sort of the reason. I mean, the reason he said was his party had moved away from him. But by and large, what had also happened is that he had voted for the president's stimulus bill. And this basically, politically, was suicidal in the Republican Party. And he said, I don't want one party, one group of people who had begun to rally around another more conservative candidate in Pennsylvania to decide. So there's an element of truth, certainly in this, and I will say that the party switch is what has complicated Arlen Specter's primary race here, because he does has some sort of trust issues with Democrats who now think, well, what's the deal here? Compounding that, of course, is the fact that he's been in the Senate for 30 years, and this does not seem to be a great time to be an incumbent of long standing.
Hey, Craig, if this is the headline tomorrow in the papers, right? If it gets done by tomorrow night, obviously. Sestak wins in Pennsylvania. Blanche Lincoln loses in Arkansas. And Rand Paul wins in Kentucky. What's the story? Why is that? Why would that be significant? And what would people be writing?
Politicians on the run, Rick. What we're seeing in this election, I believe, is, I always believe as unemployment goes up, the more the voters want the politicians to lose their jobs. And we've seen that already in a couple of recent episodes in West Virginia and Utah, and that I think we're going to see tomorrow. I would predict that a lot of these challengers are going to win because of this mood out there. I love it when politicians can't figure out what the voters are going to do, and that's where we are in this election.
Well, and the funny thing is about this, I mean, Candy, this is not a Democrat problem like we were talking about, you and I, in fact, and Craig, you and I as well, 3 months ago at the height of the health care debate. This is an incumbent problem. Whether you got an R in front of you or a D in front of you, it's starting to look like. Am I wrong, Candy?
No, there definitely are problems, and it's almost more of a Democratic problem simply because there are more Democratic incumbents because they control the House and the Senate. So, yes, it's on both sides. But I also think that it's a philosophical issue because Blanche Lincoln in Arkansas is being challenged from the left. Arlen Specter in Pennsylvania is being challenged from the left. When you look at the Republican races, Bob Bennett, who just got thrown out in a convention, but he can't run in the primaries, he was thrown out by the right. So what you're having is discontent with some of the liberals who don't like some of the things that President Obama has not done, and discontent from the right of the Republican Party for some of the things Republican lawmakers have done.
Hey,
and Rick, this is our third...
Go ahead, Craig.
This is our third change election in a row. This is not new, actually. I mean, we've had 2 change elections before this one. It's just the difference now is Democrats are in charge of everything.
Well, it's a layered change. Craig, it's a layered change. See, it's change on top of change on top of change. You just have to understand that. You're in Florida.
And, we got Democrats now in the lurch because they're the one, as Candy says, there's more of them, so they're more vulnerable.
Before I let you go, Craig, you're in Florida. I've been noticing these polls all of a sudden out of Florida. I mean, some people were saying, Rubio, superstar Rubio, rock star, is going to knock everybody out. And I'm looking at some polls lately that are showing, you and I talked about this. Don't figure that Charlie Crist can't come back. I'm looking at polls that show that he's on top of this three-way race now. Is that right?
I was high on Charlie Crist doing this from the very beginning. I think he got a boost in those early polls. We've seen a drifting downward since, so there's a conservative-leaning poll out. But what I see is that even though Crist goes up and down in these Senate race polls, he's still the governor, and his approval ratings are very high. And he's got the opportunity to seize issues like oil drilling. He's going to bring the state legislature in for a constitutional amendment to ban oil drilling. That'll be popular with a lot of voters. So he's got the opportunity to stay in the news and stay on top of it.
Yeah, don't count them out is what I was trying to say, but it's my second language. Spanish is my first, so sometimes I have a hard time with English, Candy. You know that about me, right?
And don't count out the Orlando Magic.
Well, you know what? Good luck. Boston's on fire, my friend. Candy Crowley, superstar in her own right of State of the Union, and my good friend Craig Crawford joining us today. Enjoyed the conversation, guys. All right, let's take you back to our breaking news.